Hello crafters, this is Yana Smakula for SimonsStamp.com. Welcome back for another Yippee for Yana episode. Today we're going to talk about hot foil stamping with the Spellbinders Glimmer Hot Foil system. Hot foil stamping is still relatively new, and I know a lot of people find it quite intimidating. Maybe you've tried it in the past and didn't have good results, so you've set your Glimmer aside. Or maybe you have a machine, but it is gathering dust in your closet as you haven't had the chance to learn how to use it. Or maybe you haven't even heard about hot foil stamping at all, and it is completely new to you. This video will share some basics of hot foil stamping. I'll give you my best tips, share some do's and don'ts, and hopefully will help you get started with this wonderful technique. Here's a look at the Glimmer Hot Foil system. There is a switch on the back of the machine. You flip it, and that's what turns the machine on. Of course, you need to plug it in as well. And by the way, there is a US and also the UK and European version of the machine, so you can use it in different parts of the world. My machine has been on for a few minutes now, so it's actually very hot. I know you can't see it, you can't tell from the video, but it's very hot. When you first turn your machine on, you will see the red light go on. It indicates that your machine is on. It takes about 5 minutes for the Glimmer machine to become hot enough to foil. And while your machine is heating up, it is a good time to prep your project, get your papers, your foils, your plates, and so on, or get some coffee. Now, this is the platform that disconnects from the docking station, and this is what gets hot and what goes through your die-cutting machine. Glimmer needs to be used in conjunction with the die-cutting machine, as that will apply the pressure and help transfer the foil onto the paper or whatever other material you're foiling on. The platform gets very hot, so don't touch it. Don't put your hand on it. You can see there are several caution labels on the platform, so do be careful. I've docked the platform into the docking station. Now the machine needs a little bit of time to heat the platform, and once the platform will be hot enough, the second light will turn solid green. Now let's set the machine aside for a minute. You will need a few other things to do hot foil stamping. Now let's take a look at some of them. So here I have a few rolls of foil. This is specialty foil, and it comes in a package looking like this. If you have foil from a laminator machine, such as Mink, that foil will not work in Glimmer Hot Foil system and vice versa. Those are different types of foils, so make sure you use the correct type of foil for hot foil stamping. I like to label my foil rolls by cutting the name of the foil out from the packaging and sticking it inside the foil roll. This helps me identify the foil color, as some foils look very similar, so this is just a storage tip for you. Next, we have a magnetic pickup tool. This is basically a handle with a built-in magnet to help you pick up Glimmer hot foil plates from the surface of the Glimmer machine. The plates will get very hot and you don't want to touch them with your fingers, hence this little handy tool. The tool has a button and it deactivates the magnet, which releases the plate. You can also use this tool with anything metal. You can use it with your dies, with pins, and so on. The tool can be used by both right-handed and left-handed crafters. I'm left-handed and you can see that I can easily use it. Next, we have a foil cutter. This is a tool from Spellbinders called Quick Trimmer, and it is designed to help you cut your foil to size. Now this minimizes foil waste, it prevents scratches on the foil, it lets you cut the foil in a straight line, something that is nearly impossible to do when you use scissors, and something very handy when you use my hinge method to attach the plate onto the paper, and we will get to that in a minute. Now the cutter comes with 2 knives or 2 blades, one for cutting paper, because you can use this tool to cut paper, and one for cutting foil, and they are labeled accordingly. I'm just going to show you the one that's for foil in this video. Now, the way you use this trimmer is you place the foil on the little cutting mat. Next, you place the clear ruler on top. The ruler has a little bit of a lip so that it doesn't exactly sit on top of the foil. The foil can slide easily under it. And the ruler also has these slots for your blade to go into. So you measure the piece of foil you need to cut and cut it. It is very easy and it does help you save a lot of foil. Now let's talk about paper. Paper is what matters the most when you do hot foil stamping. If you use the wrong type of paper, you will not get good foiled results. It's like with all of the other techniques in card making, you need to use the proper surface for the specific type of medium you plan to apply onto that surface. You know how we have specialty papers for ink blending, for Copics, for watercolor. The same with foiling. I like to use Simon's 120 and 130 pound cardstock for my projects. This paper always performs really well and gives me great results. I do have a dedicated video on my YouTube channel exploring different types of paper for hot foil stamping, and I encourage you to check it out if you want to learn more. No matter what type of paper you use, you will sometimes have overfoiling. This is normal and nothing to freak out about. You can remove the excess foiling by using a dry, stiff paintbrush or by using a pencil eraser. You can also use a sanding eraser or even scrape the foil off with a craft knife. Now let's talk about the do's and don'ts when it comes to hot foil stamping. First, the correct side of the foil. The foil has to go pretty side to the hot foil plate. They have to kiss. If you place the foil incorrect side up, you'll foil the glimmer plate, not your paper. Here, I placed the foil incorrectly intentionally for demonstration purposes, and you can see it did not foil the paper, but it did foil the plate. You can see the pretty foil color on the raised areas of my hot foil plate. Foiling the plate doesn't affect it. You can continue foiling using this plate. The presence of foil on its surface will not affect the results. I have foiled quite a few hot foil plates over the last couple of years, so it's nothing to worry about. You can clean the foil off of the surface of the Glimmer Hot Foil plate if you want. You can use a product like Undo or any other sticker remover. Just make sure you do not scrape or scratch the foil off the surface of the plate, as that might leave scratch marks and that might damage your Glimmer Hot Foil plate. On the bright side, you will get a letterpress look on your paper. The plate will press into the paper, giving you a beautiful texture. But you can do that without the foil, so no need to waste it. Second, do not foil after heat embossing. Here's a visual demonstration for you. The heat from the Glimmer Hot Foil system will remelt the embossing powder and it will mess up your embossed piece. Plus, the embossing powder might transfer onto the surface of your Glimmer Hot Foil system, and I honestly don't know if there's a way to get it off. I filmed this part for you and I intentionally added a piece of scrap paper to protect the surface of my Glimmer machine. If you must combine heat embossing with hot foil stamping, that's something that I actually like to do quite often, you'll need to do the hot foil stamping first and the heat embossing last. Third, and this is more of a do than a don't, do tape your plates and your foil onto the paper. This is very similar to taping your dies onto your paper when you are using a coordinating die over a stamped image. You want to make sure your die doesn't shift when you cut, so you tape it. The same goes with the Glimmer plates. You don't want the plate to shift, as that might result in double foiling or a little halo, so tape the plate onto the paper. This will give you better results. Next, do use my hinge method whenever possible to get perfect placement. Here I have a skinny stripe background plate. This is from my Blooming Birthday collection, and this plate is large enough to cover a front of an A2 card. I like to use a piece of low-tech tape. This is Spellbinders' best ever craft tape, and I just use it to make a hinge, like so, and this helps me to align the plate on the paper. Then I flip it away. I add my foil. The foil has been pre-cut to size, and this is why it's important to have that nice straight edge that you can create with a foil trimmer. You can align that straight edge with the edge of the plate. or the edge of your tape, and you can flip the plate back into the original position and then use another piece of tape to secure the plate and the foil again, and foil, knowing that nothing is going to shift. So place it on the Glimmer Hot Foil system, press the button, that's the timer. While the light is flashing, the machine is heating up the plate. Once it turns solid green, it means the plate is ready. It is hot enough. It usually flashes for about a minute. Now let's finally see the foiling process. The Glimmer machine comes with two plates. There's a clear plate and a milky plate. You need to use both of these plates when foiling on paper. Now the reason there are two plates instead of one plate is this allows you to foil on different types of materials and different materials with different thicknesses. For example, you can foil on leather. Leather is thicker than paper, so you'd skip using the milky plate and just use the clear plate. I'm not going to touch foiling on other surfaces. We are just covering paper in this video, but you do have that option of foiling on all sorts of things. Now, I like to add a cardstock shim. This is 80-pound cardstock, and I just stick it in between the two plates like so. This works for me and for my die cutting machine, but you might not need to add a shim. So test first and see. Now, speaking about die cutting machines, you need to use Glimmer in conjunction with a die cutting machine. You can't just use it by itself. Glimmer is compatible with various die cutting machines on the market. Check the product page to see which machines Glimmer is compatible with. I will tell you that it is not compatible with Cuttlebug. My first die cutting machine was Cuttlebug, so it's kind of near and dear to my heart. Here I'm using Platinum 6 from Spellbinders. Now my die cutting machine is teal because it was a limited edition machine, but it is the same Platinum 6 machine from Spellbinders. Once the last light turns solid green, you undock the platform and slowly send it through your die cutting machine to apply pressure and foil. I have to move things around a little bit on my desk to make sure that I could fit the die cutting machine in my camera frame and so that you can see the process. I'm not rushing. I'm also not going painfully slow, but just a slow and steady pace. Next, bring the platform back to the docking station. Make sure you dock it so that it remains hot for your next foiling process, and then remove the plates. You can use your magnetic tool to remove the Glimmer plate. Now, this particular plate is very large and heavy, so the tool is not strong enough to pick it up, but you can easily move it. If you use the tape, gently peel it off and then enjoy your beautiful foiled result. Now, do be careful. The Glimmer plate will get very hot, so avoid touching it for the first few seconds to allow it to cool. Now, the Glimmer Hot Foil system does come with a cooling mat that works as a cool spot to house the hot foil plates once you've finished foiling with them. But I never have room on my desk, so I don't ever use it. But you certainly can, and that is included with your machine. Now, here's another tip I have for you. Once you've foiled something, and that will depend, of course, on the design of the plate that you use, you have negative foiled piece or you have leftover foil. Now, this particular leftover foil piece is a gem to foil skinny strip sentiments. See how much foil I still have left here? I can foil a bunch of sentiments using this. So I'm going to save this piece for my future projects. I just like to add a piece of tape to the end and tape it onto my desk so that it can stay in sight and I don't forget that I have it. I figured I would share a card at the end of this video using some of the pieces I foiled while explaining how the Glimmer works. So here I have that skinny stripe background. I foiled it in gold on Simon's 120-pound cardstock. And I also have a diamond frame. This is from my diamond floral frame set. And I've cut the frame out using the coordinating dies. Now, I didn't mention this before, but hot foil plates, like stamps, often come with coordinating dies, allowing you to cut your foil designs out. Now, I personally love to combine hot foil stamping with heat embossing and coloring. So I created this little floral piece for my card by heat embossing the outline in Simon's Antique Gold embossing powder and coloring the image with Copic markers. This beautiful floral cluster comes from Simon's Spring Bouquets stamp set, and I also cut it out using the coordinating die. I plan to add a sentiment, and this one comes from my Yana's Special Sentiments set. It is one of those plates that also has a coordinating die to help you cut it out. I went with a very simple card design here. I trimmed my skinny strip background to 4 inches by 5¼ inches. Next, I added my diamond floral frame and cluster. I did place the floral cluster upside down as I wanted the flowers to trail downward. I used foam adhesive squares to pop these images up. And next, I added the sentiment overlapping the frame slightly. I foam mounted the panel onto an A2 white side-folding card base. And finally, I added some gems from Spellbinders. These are from the Crystal Mix set. And that finished my simple foiled card. I hope you found this Glimmer Back to Basics video helpful and you are ready to dive into hot foil stamping. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. Thanks so much for joining me today. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.